So we lost Satoru Iwata, and then we lost Reggie Fils-Aimé, and Nintendo for some reason decided to make executive, a former executive at EA, Doug Bowser, the president of Nintendo of America. And he has some choice words about the pricing of the Nintendo Switch too. And it's kind of funny because where it's like history fucking repeating itself. It's just that it's taking on a new context, a new form. We're kind of living in the times of fucking we're kind of living in the times foretold by Metal Gear Solid 2. We're here to form we're here to reform context, not remove content. And Don Matrick, all the way back then, 11 years ago, with his, oh, if you don't have internet, just go buy a 360, is now recontexted into the Nintendo Switch 2, where fucking Doug Bowser tells fans of Nintendo that may not be able to afford a Nintendo Switch 2, bro, just get the original Switch, dog. Dog, you don't need a Switch 2, man. You're broke. You're broke. You don't need a Switch 2, dog. And his EA past, his EA history is literally showing itself in these moments because while I can understand the pricing of the console, in fact, take a look at this. Here's the pricing for when you trade in your Nintendo Switch, your original. So the Switch OLED, which is what I personally have, I can get $175. The original Switch, the V1 and the V2, this is the first original model, and then the model where they kind of extended the battery life, if I'm not mistaken, with the V2, you can get 125. And then for the Switch Lite, shit, you can still get $100 off. And I'm gonna tell you the truth, this pricing is still predatory. Oh, what the fuck are you talking about, Mozzie? How is this pricing still predatory? Every time a new console comes out, of course, the pricing is dropped if you bring in the old console and trade it in. That's the whole point of a trade-in program. Yes, indeed it is. Indeed it is. But guess what? If for these prices, if I could trade in my Switch OLED and drop my Nintendo Switch 2 purchase down, understand my Switch 2 purchase will now become $275 before taxes, meaning after taxes, my Switch 2 purchase will be right there with the price I paid when I bought my original Nintendo Switch back in 2017. What does this implicate or indicate? That once I trade in my Switch OLED, transfer over my data, what becomes a more reasonable proposition to me as a purchaser of the as a ambassador of the Nintendo Switch 2, which is what Nintendo would call me, fucking Doug Bowser. They would call me an ambassador of their console. I would be someone who has taken up ownership of one of their consoles as proof of not being a fan, but more so that, hey, I'm interested in this product. But instead of talking to me in a way that giving me corpo talk, are consumers. Instead of giving me corpo talk or making me feel bad about my purchase through corpo talk and definitely putting down other fucking people, I would be an ambassador of the Nintendo Switch 2. Now, of course, I don't expect Doug Bowser with his EA history to understand these things. And of course, I would expect Doug Bowser with his EA history to think that it's fair to not only come into the market bumping up Nintendo games by $20 compared to what they were selling for just the last generation, and then bumping them up on a piece of hardware that's probably going to be obsolete once again within the next 3 to 4 years. And I'm pretty sure they have another 8, 9, 10 years to go, even though he does kind of implicate in the CNBC interview that it's possible that the Nintendo Switch 2 may be obsolete even faster than the Nintendo Switch, which almost made it 10 years on the market. In 2 years, the Nintendo Switch would have been 10 years old. But not only does he implicate that, then he also turns around and talk about variable pricing. Well, what's variable pricing? Well, that's kind of exactly what we see with the pricing of the Nintendo Switch 2's games, where some games are $40, some games could potentially be $50. I don't think any of them are $50 right now. If you bought the games for the Nintendo Switch 2 after the console is released, and for specifically the console, I don't think any games right now are $50, but $50 is a possibility. $60 is once again a possibility. $70 is a possibility. $80 is a possibility. And I'm guessing $90 will also be a possibility, because if that wasn't the case, games in different regions wouldn't cost $90 physically. Even when you transfer over the currency. So when you convert it to USD, it wouldn't still be worth $90. Meaning, what we could see, and for all of the people that's taking up for Nintendo, what we could see is a future to where Super Smash Bros. Is going to be right there with GTA 6 at $100. Why is it $100? Well, when time comes for Doug Bowser to explain why Smash Brothers Ultimate 2 is $100, well, we have so many characters here, and of course, Smash Ultimate had X amount of characters. It's somewhere around like 50 or 60 characters, somewhere in that range. Smash Ultimate had like 50 or 60 characters, and we're expecting to add many more characters and many more stages in the future. So we chose to go ahead, and the season pass is included right there in the price. Everyone pretty much is going to be an adopter of the season pass, and you'll get DLC for Nintendo's for Smash Brothers Ultimate 2. You'll get DLC for this free of charge, and then next thing you know, we'll be paying for a fucking character out of nowhere, a character that we really, really, really want. You'll be paying for that character out of fucking nowhere. And oh, why is this one? Well, we had to work truly hard to get this character in the game. And then, of course, this is also going to lead to another slippery slope. You all can see that the Nintendo Switch 2 is making a huge push to catch Nintendo up with live service features, such as game chat, being able to connect a camera to your Nintendo Switch 2, which these things aren't bad in their own right. Of course, Nintendo Switch 2 getting voice chat finally is like a dream fucking come true. I just wish I could sit there and talk shit to my friends while we battle playing Pokemon, which is going to be the footage in the background of this video. I could just imagine talking shit to my friends while I'm playing Pokemon with them, bro. I could see it now. But, of course, we all see the pushes that's being made. And even From Software, a studio notoriously known for making great single-player experiences, see the Nintendo Switch 2 as a prospect to drop a multiplayer-only, or at least for the most part, a multiplayer, pretty much Dark Souls-like game. So a Souls-like. A multiplayer Souls-like is a prospect or proposition that From Software see the Nintendo Switch as the console to put this game onto. So we already can foresee exactly what the future of this console is going to be. The live service components to the Smash series. So everyone that's defending this, well, when Smash Ultimate 2 releases, be ready to fucking pay for palette swaps. Hey, this is just the future you asked for, bro. Doug Bowser, I mean, while he doesn't make every decision, Doug Bowser is a former EA executive. And thus, being a former EA executive, you should expect EA things to come out of him. You should expect EA things to come out of him. And it's clear that at some pitfall during the transfer over from Reggie Fils-Aimé to Doug Bowser, or whoever would have taken the position if it wasn't Doug, Nintendo or their investors were trying to get someone who would bring in money hand over fist through such practices. This is why you get $80 Mario Kart. This is why you get $70 Donkey Kong Bonanza. This is why you get $80 fucking Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, when it would have been more than fair for those two games as original Nintendo Switch releases to be dropped down to $30 without the upgrade. And then of course with the upgrade, you pay $40 for both, which would have been $80, which would have been the value of a fucking Mario Kart. But instead, no, nigga, you're gonna if you want both because you didn't play them on the original Switch because you wasn't willing to adopt the outdated hardware upon release, then nigga, your ass is gonna pay $160. You're gonna buy this shit like they're completely new games. And there's only one way to circumvent this, and I'll tell you my practice for the Nintendo Switch 2 and games that I wanted to play from the original Switch. Bro, go buy that shit secondhand. Go buy that shit secondhand, bro. I just bought Mario Kart 8 because when time comes and Mario Kart World comes out, my niggas, I'm gonna fucking be playing my shit. I've always had, and in fact, I've never even started Kirby and the Forgotten Land. I already have that. So, like I said, I'm not really tripping about the pricing of the Nintendo Switch 2. And as I already exposed, yes, you can get discounts, damn good discounts actually, but these discounts are only to free you up. They're only to free you up for Mario Kart World. Lastly, the last topic I want to discuss on this video, for all you motherfuckers that said that this shit was due to the tariffs, Doug Bowser says in this interview with CNBC that the tariffs weren't impact. The pricing of the Nintendo Switch 2 wasn't impacted by the idea of tariffs coming, of Donald Trump's tariffs being imposed. So there you go. The pricing just was what it was. The idea was $450 console. That's ridiculously priced, right? Well, you can trade in your Nintendo Switch, and this is why every Nintendo Switch can drop the fucking price of the Switch 2 down to about the pricing of the original Switch. You realize that, right? Like the Switch Lite, which sells for like $200, $100. You think GameStop, if you just wanted to go sell a Nintendo Switch Lite, would give you $100? They probably would. I say it's probably about a 75-25% chance that they wouldn't. But you think that they would just give you $100 for a Nintendo Switch Lite? Yeah, more like fucking $60-$75 for a Nintendo Switch Lite. Nigga, the console is worth like it costs like $200 to buy brand new out the box. So, or like somewhere around $250 after taxes. So every single Nintendo Switch that's out now that you can go and buy right now will drop the price of the Switch 2 by at least $100. The OLED, which is what I have, pretty much turns the fucking price into $275. Meaning after taxes, I will pay what I would have paid to buy a Nintendo Switch to be an ambassador of it the day it was released. So yeah, it's still predatory. The idea is the Switch that you have now can be traded in, which frees you up or frees up some money for you to find it reasonable to pay $80 for Mario Kart World. And when you pay $80 for Mario Kart World, you're helping Nintendo usher in $80 games, which then will lead to the slippery slope of games becoming $90 by the time we get to PlayStation 6 and whatever the new Xbox is going to be. And once again, Doug Bowser implicates that the Nintendo Switch 2 may not be around for that long, or at the very least, yeah, the Switch 2 is happening now, but we may see a Nintendo home console hit the market probably within the next 5-6 years, meaning that we'll probably see a Switch 2 counterpart where the Switch 2 will pretty much become the PlayStation Vita, I forgot what that fucking dumbass PlayStation handheld that requires online because you have to fucking play games via the cloud on it. Is it called the Portal or some shit? Like that old dumbass shit. Of course, you also can get the Nintendo Switch 2 most likely will become something like that. I can promise you, bro, that's most likely what's going to happen. The Switch 2, there will be a home console probably in about 5-6 years, which is going to make people feel like, oh, this is a proper time to jump. Not realizing you just paid $450 and times are just going to get worse. Your money is going to get stretched thinner, meaning your money won't go as far, and the Switch 2 will be obsolete. And we'll get, of course, a new console from Nintendo once again, which is what Doug Bowser kind of slightly implicates, that the future of Nintendo, while he doesn't say this verbatim, he does pretty much implicate that the future of Nintendo isn't just the Switch 2, meaning most likely there's a home console, actual beef Wellington of a console that's probably being developed in the background in the deep recesses of the Nintendo archives. So thank you guys for tuning into this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Like I said, man, this shit was just as bad as this shit is just as bad, just in a different way, as the Xbox One reveal. If you didn't believe me then, hopefully you believe me now. This has been your boy Mazia. Don't forget to do a little A-class gaming and everything you do. Don't forget to keep it A-class. I'll catch you guys in the next one, man. Peace the heck out.